Stand by. Shooter ready.
Stand by.
All right, welcome back to another PRS podcast. I have my friend Phil Cashin here from MPA. We had talked earlier this week about Shoot Sportsman Division, and that gave us an opportunity to get together on a podcast here. With that, Phil, I know I just I gave a little bit of introduction there, but if you don't mind, let's tell all the listeners who you are and what company you're proud president and owner of.
All right. Well, my name is Phil Cashin. I own Masterpiece Arms, and we're located just outside of Athens, Georgia, a little town called Comer. We are heavily involved in the PRS. Our company is all we do are firearms. We have 3 different platforms that we manufacture, 2 of which are heavily focused on competitive shooting, the long-range bolt guns and chassis, obviously, for PRS and similar applications. And then we also do, we've gotten pretty heavy into double-stack 1911s, or a lot of people refer to the 2011. That's heavily used in USPSA and IDPA and IPSC and 2-gun and 3-gun and other types of high-performance pistol applications. So we love the competitive world, and I'm a rifle shooter. I'm not a pistol. I can shoot pistol very well, but that's a speed world, and I'm not. And the PRS, that's what I love about the PRS. If you finish with 5 seconds left or 30 seconds, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
So that's one of the beauties of our sport. When you get to be a little older, you can still be highly competitive and not have to worry about hustling so much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyway, so we've been a partner with the PRS I think since 2015,
Mm-hmm.
and we've it's been a big part of my life. In addition to what we do with the business side of it, I love shooting. My guess is it's between 1 and 2 day matches. I don't know, 100, 150 matches maybe. A lot, but I love it. I love everything about it. I love the mind game that is long range shooting. I mean, it's a mental challenge every time you go out. Not only with the actual shooting of the stages and wind reading and mirage, atmospherics, other unusual things that pop up, and the hand loading and just everything about it. I mean, it's a very challenging sport, and it's got so many great people in it. Just some of the greatest people you're ever going to meet. We all have a common belief. We're all patriots, and we all love the sport. So it's a lot to love about long range precision shooting, and specifically the PRS.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Phil. For a lot of people that know us both in the organization here, our own organizations probably don't know that we actually talk probably fairly frequently. There's a lot of times there's questions that I have that I don't know how to answer, or things that are going to have an effect on shooters, and I'll call and get your advice on that, just because you've been in the sport for as long as you have. And definitely, if there's decisions that we're making that have some sort of effect on match directors, as you and Eric run the MPA shootout in the spring and the fall, and then last but not least, any decisions that we make that involve a sponsor, like, we talk pretty regularly. I want to make sure that we're doing things right, and I think having good people in your court, like Phil, is necessary to be running a successful business. And I've always appreciated our conversations, and I feel like the advice that we get is that you're giving me is often full of wisdom, full of history and stuff that prior to me getting involved, there's a lot of things that happen that I don't know of, and I don't want history to repeat itself. If we're making a bad decision. One of the things you mentioned there, so if you go to the PRS website and you go to somebody's profile, if they're an active member like yourself, it'll give you all the information in an opening paragraph. So 142 total PRS matches.
Wow.
Phil.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. 67 are Pro Series, and 67. I'm clicking around the website right now. If I go to the Pro Bolt Gun Series page, and go down to the bottom, there's some tabs. Learn more, rule book, join now, member rewards, join discussion, and lifetime standings. Have you looked at this, Phil?
I have not. No.
I suspected that maybe you didn't know it was here. So lifetime standings basically shows the top 100 points getters from all time. In first place, actually new last year, is Keith Baker. And for the longest time, Rick Reeves. Rick Reeves was at the very top of that.
Oh, yeah.
He had shot a ton of matches.
He did. Yes.
He still is. But last year, Keith Baker took over. Ken Sinoski's right behind him, Brandon Hembry. But you were on this list at 57.
All right. Wow.
4,836 PRS points.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So my first ever 2-day Pro Series match was in 2018. It was the Defiance Long Range Shooting Experience at Rock Castle in Kentucky. I've gone back and I've looked at this match a bunch of times now. I mean, everybody's first match like really is concreted in their mind, right? And this one, I don't know if you remember, Phil. I don't know how many matches you'd shot at this point, but this one had some particularly bad weather.
Oh, I remember that. Yes.
All day Saturday, it rained buckets. It was awful. But Dave Preston won that match. I had no idea who David Preston is. Ryan Castle was the one that ran the match, and I remember him at the banquet, or we're standing in the parking lot handing out awards, and he's like, "And no surprise, everybody, David Preston wins this match," and I'm like, "Who's that?" I had no idea. But I mean, a ton of guys. Jason Green, Keith Baker was at there. Jeff Badley finished 5th. Nick Adarzi, Matt Rooks doesn't shoot much anymore.
Yeah.
George Gardner, Matt Steiner, Phil Vallejo, Tyler Payne, Matthew Gervais.
Yeah,
a lot of big names. It's fun to go back and look at some of these. And Phil Cashin there, 36, which I think is a pretty good finish there. And if you keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling past 100, I'm down there at 107.
That was one of the shooting venues that day was on a golf course.
Yes, yes, across. Yeah.
We don't see that much anymore. Do you have any venues now that have the matches on a golf course?
We do not, but there's a lot of golf courses I would love to turn into shooting ranges. That was
a very unique experience.
It was, and I remember it was late in the day Saturday, so it was probably our 7th, 8th, 9th stage or whatever, and there was a lot of shooters ahead of us. We go over to the golf course, and you have to shoot from next to this tee box, and they're like, "Yep, that's where you lay down and shoot." I'm like, "That's 3 inches of muddy water." Like, "Yep, everybody else has been shooting there." Okay. And here we are. We're literally laying in puddles of water next to grass, right? Because they didn't want to tear everything up. And to be fair, you had to shoot from the same spot.
Yes. I remember, Al Olivier was the RO on that stage.
Yeah.
And I think, and I don't know if he worked for me then. He came to work for me after that. Him and his wife Mary both did. But Al was kind of a hard ass, and and like, dude, it's like, you want us to lay in a puddle? He's like, "Yep, everybody else is doing the same thing. Sorry, man, can't help you." And I'm like,
"Okay,
okay,
here we go.
Time to go swimming."
Yeah, totally wild, totally wild.
That was awesome.
Yep, I love going back and looking at some of that old time stuff, right? Like, and we didn't know each other back then, But here we are shooting the same match. That was my first match. And I remember like driving up and like as soon as you come out of the woods, there's the clubhouse, right, or hotel kind of.
Yeah.
And the road was lined with Defiance flags, that to the entrance of the parking lot area, and like I remember just like it's one of those moments. It's like goosebumps or chills, right, where it's like, whoa. This is a big deal. Like, I'm here, and anybody can sign up for these, but it just was an incredible feeling. I get that feeling when I go to K&M, when you pull in there, and of course Shannon's over the top with making everything look perfect. But yeah, it's one of those feelings when you go to a match and it's set up just right. Like it's like, this is incredible. And I think for veteran shooters or match directors, you gotta remember that feeling, right? Because people have that, and I think like last year setting up the World Championship at Cameo. We did the same thing, right? And I remember putting MPA flags out. You guys are the title sponsor of the World Championships, and having them along the roadway on the way in. It's like this.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, well, and especially for an international person showing up, and you have the mountain there in Colorado, and you're driving in, and there's the USPRA flags, IPRF flags, MPA flags, and then all the sponsor banners and all that. And it's like, this is going to be an experience. People will remember this moment as they're driving in.
Yeah. Great pageantry. Yep.
It is pageantry. Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of funny. LRSC was the first. That was the first. That was the first match that I ever shot. It was
no joke.
It was in 2015. Yeah, I remember we got up there early, and it was like our early entrance into the PRS. Like nobody had heard of us, and I show up, and I'm in the bar. Throw some chassis out on the bar table.
Yeah.
And people come in there, and you're like, "Oh, who are you? Like, check this out." It's like, "Hey, I'm Phil. We make chassis."
That's awesome.
It was pretty cool, and that was a really unique place up there. I mean, that old rundown hotel that it was just everybody loved so much. I mean, everybody got to hang out at the same hotel and and eat and drink and carry on together. Before and after the match. I mean, that was a lot of fun, man.
It was. I mean, for a first time match, I mean, the hotel was kind of crappy, like you said, rundown. But it just wasn't well maintained, and I'm assuming some people got bed bugs in the beds and all that. But like, but the experience there and being able to like all the shooters together, like that's you just don't get that at every match,
No, you don't.
So
yeah.
So what kind of company was MPA back there? And that would have been March, April of 2015. Like, how big were you? How many machines did you have? Like, was this just an idea and some drawings? Like,
well,
how did it start?
Yeah, so when prior to 2008, we were a production machine shop. Like when we dealt with big Fortune 500 companies, we had kind of an advanced quality system. At the time, it was used to be QS 9000, then it was TS 16949. Your automotive background, you're familiar with that. And then I bought MPA in 2008, and we were the Mac clone kings. I mean, we made all these different variants of the original Gordon Ingram design. The Mac, the M11, M10, etc.
You still make those, right?
Yeah, we still do. Yeah.
Awesome.
About 10,000 a year of them. Oh, crazy! We sell that many of them. Man. We try. It's kind of funny, I mean, one of my reps told me one time. He's like, when I walk into a gun shop with one of your pistols, one of your DS pistols or your rifles, it's like the best gun they have in their shop.
Yeah.
And he's like, when I walk in with one of your Defenders, it's not in the same category. So I'm like, okay. Well, so we really hide it well on our website. We never really promote it. No social media marketing on it hardly at all. We just just have this little cult following on it. But anyway, so we went in 2013 when the Sandy Hook shooting happened, and there was a gun buying craze, and our issues were the barrels. Like we couldn't make enough barrels, so we ended up finding this guy named Clay Spencer up in Winchester, Virginia, that wanted to sell his barrel manufacturing business, and he was a bench rest barrel maker. And that didn't really mean anything to me at the time. He just had the equipment we were looking for, and so we ended up buying the company. And I'm like, hey, maybe we should get into making bolt guns. And so, in my attempt to gain knowledge on bolt guns, I found the Precision Rifle blog by Cal Zant. We all know Cal.
Yeah.
And I've found this wealth of information. And of course, Cal's got an engineering background and took a very analytical, numbers approach to a lot of things related to bolt guns. And that's kind of what I use as my guide to learn about, long range precision shooting. And bolt guns. And so like, hey, maybe we should make a chassis for this PRS thing. And that's kind of what got the whole thing going. So
no joke.
We were going to make the whole rifle because we knew we could make the barrel. We knew we could make the chassis. We spent about a month looking at the action and decided like, well, no, we're not going to go down that path. It would just take too long, and there's already too many people doing it.
Sure. And so, there's a lot of good options. Yeah.
A lot of great options there. Still glad to this day that we didn't get into making actions. But but that's really kind of how we got the whole thing started. And so we found some, because we were still at that time in 2015, we were still doing commercial production work and also the firearms part of our business. So we at that time we were probably just under 50 employees. Probably had about just under 45 or 50 machines, CNC machines, what have you. And then in 2016 we got rid of all of our commercial customers, kind of shrank the business down, focused only on firearms. And it's since then it's grown back up, and now I think the way our structure is, we have two companies. They're both pretty much doing the same thing. And we're right just under 55 employees. So
wow, that had to have been a tough moment, right? To look at this new business you had, look at the existing business, and say, I think we need to walk away from that and concentrate here, right? Obviously, the gun buying craze back in 2013, it felt limitless, right? Like it felt like this is exactly where all
short amount of time, absolutely,
right.
No,
but then it kind of comes and goes.
It does. It can be a roller coaster, but we just felt that when you're doing work for other companies as an OEM supplier,
right?
It's a tough road sometimes. Dealing with these big companies, you're a supplier. You're just supplier number whatever.
Right.
And we wanted a little bit more control over our future, and being our own OEM, making our own product line, just had a lot more
opportunity.
Absolutely. And even with the volatility of the market, sometimes we felt it was the way that we wanted to go. And to be honest with you, I just got tired of making parts for big companies, and I'm like, I got these gun parts over here, and making firearms was a heck of a lot of fun. And oh my gosh, I've got a quality assurance meeting with the VP of purchasing from ZF in Germany. Like, no, I really don't want to do this anymore. So we focused on firearms, and it was that's a hard market. You're so focused on all the little tiny, like, okay, hey, Mr. Operator, you were 3% less than your productivity numbers today. Can you tell me what happened? Like, that's a terrible life. And
it is.
So we ended up, and now it's just been such a great thing for our company and our family and me personally. Just absolutely love what we're doing. We're very blessed. Absolutely.
Right. You're a big part of this community too, and we're happy to have you.
Good to be here.
Hey, absolutely. So, 2015, first couple chassis, you're there at Rock Castle, and you're spreading them out, and trying to get people to buy into the idea. At that point, there wasn't very many chassis manufacturers, right? There was probably Accuracy International, maybe.
Accuracy and MDT was, I think, in the early stages.
Right.
I'm not sure about XLR. Of course, Accuracy International. There was a couple of ones that aren't around anymore.
PDC Customs, probably one of the first. It's a guy based out of Michigan. I think he was starting to do things for law enforcement.
But it was certainly a less crowded field back then.
Right.
What I think what helped us out a lot back then is that because we were a pretty good sized company with some engineers on staff and programmers and design people and et cetera, and I was a sponge. I'm like, hey, tell me what we can do better. And they're like, hey, well, what if you did this and that? I'm like, okay, give me a couple weeks. And then 2 weeks later, I'd be like, hey, we listened, and here you go. Like and so we were very responsive to a lot of the requests that we had from the shooters to, make improvements to the product line. And I think that really helped us out a lot.
For sure. I think this is one of those communities that when the companies or the industry that's involved listens to the shooters, it seems like they react quite favorably. It's crazy. Masterpiece Arms and MDT make up well over 50% of what people use. It's probably I don't have all the total numbers in front of me, but like guys shooting. Well, and then if you include XLR, KRG, et cetera, the chassis manufacturers, it's probably 80% of what people use, to go from nothing in 10 years, right?
That's right, And that's good. I mean, look, MDT is a great company, and I got a lot of respect for what they do. They're a great competitor, but they're doing well, we're doing well, the sport's doing well, and that's really kind of what to me is important. I mean, I don't look at really any other chassis manufacturer as competition. I really don't. I mean, I look at I'm in competition with myself, to come
Sure.
up with newer and better products and to continue to evolve. And
Yeah.
I don't really worry about what anybody else is doing, and they're probably not worried about what we're doing. They may. I don't really care.
Right.
But if they're selling a cajillion chassis and they're successful, good for them, and it's
Yeah.
great for the market.
Yep.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of a maybe unique way of looking at things, but.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons that I love coming to you for advice so much. Is that you say this to me probably in every phone call that we have, right? Like, well, if it's good for the PRS, it's going to be good for MPA, right? And I mean, that's the exact type of partners that our organization wants to have, right? And that could be said about a lot of companies, like Apex Optics. They started in PRS, they made products for PRS. If there's decisions that are being made that's going to grow the sport and all that, like it's going to be good for their business too, and you can say that across many different companies in the sport,
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's talk about one of those decisions we made. We decided to introduce another division this year. We had a new category, the suppress category. We've been on here, we've had podcasts about Sportsman Division. Which is 13 pounds or less, 6'5" Creedmoor, everything included in that weight, no attached plate bags, but everything that you're going to be shooting that rifle with, minus the ammo in the magazine. So, my favorite part, and I think I've said this before, like anytime the PRS or I'll say even the NRL introduces some new rules or opportunities to compete, industry is usually pretty quick to follow with some innovation for that, right? And we're seeing that in the suppressor category where there's new folks coming out with attached brakes for the end of suppressors, right, to help reduce recoil. I'm sure we're going to see tons of innovation with suppressors going down the line, that these things are going to become really effective at reducing recoil and helping shoot while also suppressing sound. Immediately with stocks and chassis, there's a lot of development there that the entire sport moved down this path of adding weight. Like this thing needs to get super heavy to help reduce recoil and become a crutch for shooters. Honestly, I've been shooting Sportsman for a little while now, and I can't believe the fundamentals that you don't need when you're shooting a 25 to 30 pound rifle.
Oh my
right?
gosh, yeah.
Yeah, but when you start shooting a 13-pound rifle, like that's all got to come back, right? So you've been shooting Sportsman for a little bit this year, right?
Yeah,
and you've been using one of your chassis. I'm assuming it's the MPA Hunter Comp.
Yeah, well, it's a complete rifle. So
Yeah, okay.
We put the rifle on our website maybe a week or so ago.
Awesome.
Getting ready to release some videos and some other stuff on it, but initially I to be quite frank with you, I did it because I just wanted to shoot the rifle and just, get some feedback, see what I thought about it. Do we need to make any changes to it? Like we want to take kind of we want to fine tune this rifle to where it gives whoever's running it a competitive advantage over ones who aren't. I mean, really, like as a manufacturer in this sport, that's what you're trying to do, right? I mean, you want shooters to feel like they have an advantage using your product.
Absolutely.
And so it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to go shoot Sportsman's Division. Like that really was not the drive behind it. But man, I tell you what, so the first match I shot was down at Altus a couple, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, I shot at a few positional stages, just practicing, and of course, got my data and shooting off the bench or whatever.
Right.
But didn't really know what to expect, and I was excited about it just because it's something new.
Sure.
140 something matches, and shooting a heavy rifle and all that. It's you're focused on a few little things. Like you got to be perfect. You can't miss a shot. You want everything to be right. And it's like, okay, well, we're getting, it's probably not going to be that way. You're shooting a 13-pound rifle in a 6.5 Creedmoor. I started kind of like, man, this is gonna be pretty cool tomorrow. I remember on Friday talking to Keith Rudisell on the way down there, and man, it is so much fun. It's so different.
It is.
I mean, like, I'm gonna shoot. I'm not gonna shoot I'm gonna shoot the Sportsman the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Because look, for you have a lot of different profiles of shooters who shoot in the PRS. People that are just getting into it, people that have been doing it a long time, crossovers from hunters. I mean, you got every imaginable, F class, etc.
Oh yeah.
But it's just. I mean, there's so many good things about it. One, it's different. You're used to shooting a 20 to 25 pound rifle on a 6mm for years, and you're so used to just having, especially with a a high performance brake on it, where the reticle is just moving a little bit when you shoot, and it's just you got a lot of cheats in place, with weights, and, bags and everything else, and you're fighting. That's not there. I mean, you've really. I mean, you learn real quickly. Like you need to lean into the rifle. Like you can't. There's no free recoiling, or you're looking at the sky.
Exactly.
I mean, and not a little bit above the target. I mean, like way above the target. And so, you really. I mean, whether you're using it to practice fundamentals or just the uniqueness of shooting a 13-pound rifle is so different. It's so much fun. And I tell you what, like when you clean a stage.
Yes.
You're like, oh, I beat all you guys. I mean, like you guys in these little 6BRs and dashers and this 23-pound rifle. I just cleaned the stage just like you guys did with this 6.5 Creedmoor and a 13-pound rifle. It's like, man, like that is a great accomplishment. And it's just, man, I can't tell you how much I enjoy it. I mean, there's just so many really neat things about it.
If you let anybody else shoot the rifle, like say at the end of the match, and be like, you should try this,
Yes, I have, and you get a couple like it was like whoop, like wow, it's this, they take a few shots with it because it takes a couple shots for them to kind of get used to it,
right?
But yeah, it's I tell you, so one. Okay, so our DN5 brake has been a very popular brake in the PRS. It's got, let me see here.
You got to have one. You probably got 1,000 sitting right outside the door.
Okay, so it's got these, these ports that kind of wrap around the top of the brake, and there's some unique machining up in there that creates these internal pockets. It's a ridiculous difficult brake to make.
Yeah,
the sucker's heavy. It weighs about 7 ounces, right?
Yeah.
So when we were putting together the rifle, and like getting to 13 pounds, I mean, I think we're like 12.998 pounds. Because you start out where you think you want to be, and it's like, oh, we got to cut a half a pound. Let's try this, let's try that. So we made a titanium version of this.
Yes.
The DN6. We're getting ready to put it on the website here in 2-3 weeks, but
noted.
But it is it's highly effective, especially in a lighter rifle. And keeping, and being able, like when you break that shot, I mean, like at Altus, they had a lot of targets inside 300 yards.
Yeah.
And Jim Gilliland put together the course of fire, and look, seeing a bullet, hit or miss the target at 300 yards, even on a 20-something pound rifle, is not easy. And about halfway through the match, I'm like, I'm actually being able to watch where this bullet's going. I mean, I'm watching where on the target it's hitting, with good fundamentals loading into the rifle. But that's mainly shooting positional.
Right.
When I shoot off of a bipod on a hard concrete surface, it bounces. So like what serves you well in positional kind of works against you.
Right.
In shooting modified prone. In that because you got a thinner profile barrel, it's fluted. There's more whip in the barrel, so that that push down effect of that brake, it helps you in one aspect and it kind of hurts you a little bit in the other.
Yeah.
So like this weekend, there's a one-day match at Cool Acres, and I'm going to shoot the whole match just off a bag, even the prone stages. I mean, it's going to be like I'm just going to shoot it off a bag and just see, can I see more doing it that way? I'm super excited about just trying that.
You might be able to see a lot more.
Don't even use a bipod the whole match.
Yeah, just put down a bigger bag up front and manage it, right?
Yeah, and then maybe I'll maybe just put a weight in the front and do away with a bipod. You know,
You
so
can do that
never know.
too.
But
Yep.
but
Yeah.
there's just so many, you know, I mean, like just all the. So when we started out, you know, we were going to use that Hunter comp chassis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had to use the printed cheek riser. You know, the cheek riser is printed.
Lightweight.
So it's printed. Yep. We were using an old Matrix, really thin profile bag rider. That was one of the other things I noticed initially, like having a really light butt end. You know, we're so used to throwing down the rifle and just like, clunk, you know, it's down, right? Like, you know, that reticle is not moving.
Yeah.
You've got this really light rear end, and like when you're down prone, aside from the, you know, the bounce from the brake, even still, like it's really hard to get the rifle to the point where it's perfectly still.
Right.
You know, and so we had to use a longer bag rider to give me more to push down into the bag.
Yeah.
So there's just so many unique things that are just so different than what we're used to in these, you know, highly tuned heavy rifles.
Yep.
That it just presents a whole new series of challenges, not only as a manufacturer coming up with solutions to these now unique challenges, but also from a shooter to figure it out while you're shooting. And that really, I mean, that's the more exciting aspect of it, is just, hey, let me, you know, you're thinking so far outside of your normal box. You know, and just how you approach a stage and things that you're focused on, and it's just, I mean, that aspect that I absolutely love.
Yep. You know, I had a similar experience. So my first time shooting my Sportsman rifle, you know, I just went to the range. I made sure it was zeroed at 100 yards, and then I went to Oklahoma. I went to Clay's match, and I knew that the 6.5 was going to help me out there. I'm using the Hornady 153s, and ballistically, it's a great bullet in the wind. So I knew that would help, but I knew that fighting recoil was going to be different, going to be a challenge. And on Friday, just trying to sight in, I actually pulled Clay over. I'm like, oh, okay, you got to refresh me on a little bit of JTAC training here. How do I fight this thing, you know? And one of the things I realized on Friday was I had gotten really lazy where I was watching the reticle with every shot, and until I would see trace or target moving or something like that, and then my eye would be drawn to whatever the action was. And immediately shooting Sportsman, you can't watch the reticle. The reticle is so far off into the sky or the trees or backdrop, it's not even funny. Like I had to retrain my eye to just watch the target. Right, and the target would typically, you know, and I found I'm shooting a Leupold Mark V, you know, because it's a 30-ounce scope, like it meets weight pretty easily, and I'm backing out to like 12 or 13 power just to get my field of view, like so that I can see where the heck the target goes after I pull the trigger, right, and that's. Trying to keep the target in there is a challenge all in itself, right? Which is loading the rifle, making sure, you know, your opposite hand's doing everything it can to hold the rifle in position, right? But I'll say this: the advantage of shooting a 6.5, like when that thing hits a target, 150 grains worth, like you know where it hits or doesn't. Right. I mean, usually you get plenty of dust or dirt, you know, from it too. Right. Yep. Yeah. I'm tempted now to go back to my open rifle and chamber it in 6.5 Creedmoor and be like, okay, we're going to go 25 pounds, you know, and we'll see if I can really shoot, you know, but I know better. By the third shot, I'm going to be lazy on it. You know what I mean? But you can't be. We can't be with the Sportsman rifle. You know, I've shot 2-3 matches now with it, and you know, I can recall every shot that I took a break off, you know, took a rep off, and I send it right over the target because the thing recoils back violently, and you know, and I didn't even see where it went, but pretty good guess it went over top, you know.
I know what I did wrong.
Exactly, you know, and then, you know, if it's a two shot engagement on that target, like, well, I gotta try the same wind hold and just hopefully this, you know, stay into it and see where it goes, but. All right, let's talk about.
Let me show this real quick.
Absolutely.
I want to kind of walk just the things
through the
that we
components.
Looked at here. Let me see if I can get all this in. All right, so you know, a couple little things we did. So that's the
titanium brake. Yep.
We went with a Mark IV.
Okay.
It weighs 27 ounces.
3 ounces less than a Mark V.
Yep. And that,
Yep.
every ounce counts.
Yeah.
We've got our BA rings on here, and they're about 5.5 ounces. And there are a lot of good rings out there. I mean, like,
Yeah.
there's nothing unique. It's got a level on it, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
This thing right here. So when the first time we shot, it was down at the NPA match before I competed with it, and trying to grab on that little thin forend, which is good for weight reduction, not so good for grabbing the rifle. It was so thin, it was very uncomfortable. So we printed this little thumb bridge. So that
it's almost like a mini night vision bridge, but it's for your left hand or opposite hand
it's got
to
that little fin kind of hanging out for your like a little thumb.
Yep.
On the barrel, we went with it's a heavy Palma, so it's 900 thousandths at the muzzle, which is a pretty good size barrel in stainless, but we fluted it. So
how long is it?
24 inches. So it's 24
inches. That's plenty of barrel. Yep. Plenty.
And let's see here. And I got a little Coltac. When I got to the match at Altus, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna? I can't put a data card on there because it's gonna be, because our data card
weigh half an
at
ounce.
least 2 ounces, and it's gonna put me overweight.
Yeah.
So so fortunately Keith had one, an old quarterback thing, and so I was using that all day, and I hate using those.
Yeah.
I
you like having it up front.
Right there, so I got this thing from Coltac, and I think it weighs about an ounce.
Yeah.
Their little attachment here with a little card.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, we and so we originally were using a polymer magazine, but then when we loaded it, and I'm running a 140 ALD and some Lapua brass, and it exceeded the length capacity of a Magpul polymer magazine, and also we were going to use these. Who are these things? These C2. These mags right here.
That's polymer too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's polymer mag. But the problem is the overall cartridge is too long. So Keith's like, well, let's try an AW mag. Well, the AW mag actually weighs less than this polymer.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So fortunately, the AW mag, I can get 11 in. If a 12-round stages presents a little bit of a challenge, but
right.
But yeah, I mean, just like so, and then that's that little skinny bag rider that we've got there.
Yeah. That thing is pencil.
Profile.
It's pencil profile back there.
It is pencil. I mean, it's like, trying to get it to the point to where we're right up on the number, and I mean, like on this thing right here on this little thumb bridge, the original design had 2 screws on each side, and it was overweight, so we had to take 2 screws out of it to get it underweight. And then the bipod is it's a Thunder Beast, they're T-back, and it's got a little Arca clamp on it.
Yep.
So that's 14.5 ounce, so it's roughly about the same weight as a Harris.
Yep.
The HBRMS.
Yep.
And it's a great. I mean, I've never used it before, but Ray Sanchez sent one to me. I mean, it's a great bipod. I mean,
that's my open bipod. I like that. I mean, there's a lot of really good bipods out there. I mean, Accutech is like super rigid. They're the official bipod of PRS. It's a great bipod. B&T makes a great bipod. I like the Thunder Beast for just flip down, and pretty easy adjustment. Like, it's pretty nice,
And the Mark IV, it's got that PR3 reticle in it, so it's
simple.
I was running the Mark V.
Yeah.
So it was an easy transition. I can't tell a difference. I mean, I don't really use anything above 25 anyway, but the last day I shot was at 20 magnification to a 20 power. So I'm able to run it at about the same magnification that I was my open gun.
There you go. Yep.
But it's just interesting, like how the whole aspect of trying to engineer this rifle, where you put that weight limit, and it's like, I mean, we can't, like you think, oh, you can be an ounce over. Like, no. An ounce is a lot. I mean, that's 2 screws and a nut. I mean, like, you can't do that. I mean, But yeah, it's been such a great. I mean, I just, you shoot a lot of matches sometimes, and I think a lot of shooters, they shoot. Why do they shoot? I mean, they shoot for a lot of different reasons, but sometimes you need something just to revitalize your energy and your drive to I love this, and that's kind of where I'm at right now with the Sportsman Division.
Yeah, I agree. I'm in the same boat, and I didn't anticipate that was going to be a thing. And if I look through the Sportsman Division standings, in the Pro Series. It's interesting. There's a lot of names on there that I think are fellas trying to do the same thing, right? And I honestly I don't believe this is trophy hunting. You know, some of the names that are on there, you know, are guys that you know, have won a lot of trophies and done a lot. You know, so top 5 right now are Anthony Waichulis. He's a shooter from Wisconsin here. He's already got 3 Sportsman Division wins. Sorry, John Kyle Truitt. Obviously he came out with a hybrid stock this year for this. Jonathan Berry,
Yep.
Luke Crawford, and Larry Deese. Mike Burns on there. Billy Don Kenny. Like, you know, these are guys that are pretty good shooters.
Yeah, absolutely.
That've been around a while that, you know, are just looking to try something new. And what I think is awesome about being able to do this, like, this is a multi-purpose rifle. Like, your 13-pound rifle there, like, man, if you're going to go hunting, maybe not in the mountains. If you got to climb, you know, 5,000 feet a day, you don't want 13 pounds on you. Pretty much anywhere else, that is a really well-oiled machine for hunting a lot in North America, right?
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it just you know, it was funny when I first started loading for it, and I, you know, like all of us have been doing this for a long time. And see, even in your background there, you got a lot of reloading components.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
Dies and just everything related to all the different calibers. And man, it took a while to find all of the stuff for a 6.5 Creedmoor, you know,
Which you've had.
the dies and the bushings and
Yeah.
you know, and the just all the, and I couldn't find my modified case. You know,
Yep.
I think the last time I
Yep.
used a modified case for a 6.5 Creedmoor was probably 2016.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I had to come to the shop. and get the drill and that special tap out and make a modified case.
Make your own. Yep. Yep. Yeah. That was fun for me too. Back then I didn't have. I mean, I was reloading on nice equipment, but not like we have now. I mean, like having 2 auto tricklers, you know, and having a, you know, nice press and top end dies and all that. Like I was using stuff that I bought at the farm store down the road, right? Like, you know, at Creedmoor, you know, it's Creedmoor, it's engineered. Like this should be able to size brass, right? And I was challenged back in the day, you know, 2016. Actually, that match, 2018 at LRSC, I was shooting a 6.5 Creedmoor back then, and I could get it to shoot pretty well, but I could never get it to shoot like some of my open rifles do right now, right? Where it's like, I know exactly where this bullet's going, and I know that the next one coming out is going to make the hole a little bit larger, right? I didn't have that capability back in 2018, probably the last time I was shooting 6.5 Creed. And it was kind of fun to go back and be like, okay, all right, now I got good components. I got a good process down. Let's see where I can get to, right? And it's hard. It's maybe not as easy as shooting an open rifle at 100 yards and trying to get a really good group. But you can do it. You know, I think, you know, like everything you said about shooting off a bipod, that's 100% true. I think shooting off a bag and trying to zero and making sure you're on, I think, is the right way to do it, where you can get the rifle to recoil straight back, you know, and not open up. You know, I was stringing vertically, just trying to do load development. I'm like, my reloading process is sound. You know, my SDs are still 4, you know, but trying to shoot a group with a light rifle is not easy.
I know.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, when a bullet doesn't go where you want it to, when you're shooting groups, it's like, okay, was that me? Did I
Right.
let off? Did my shoulder pressure change a little bit, or
Probably.
was that the bullet? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like shooting a BR or a dash.
No.
Like,
No.
You know, if you throw one, it's like that wasn't the shooter.
No.
Got to have something going on there. Needed maybe
Yep.
a little more fine tuning, but
Yeah, it's shooting out in Oklahoma too. Clay's match is 50% prone. He advertises it as that. You know, shooting with just a T-shirt on. At the end of day 2, I actually had a bruise on my collarbone. You know,
Really?
like, man, it's been a while since I've had to deal with any sort of recoil. You know, but yeah, I mean, just in a T-shirt, like it's gonna be a little violent. You know,
Yeah.
depending on muzzle brake and all that, but yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. But I love it though. I mean, I'm super pumped about it. I can't wait to shoot this weekend, and so then I gotta get at least 3, 4, 5 2-day matches kind of under my belt here for the rest of the year, and
hopefully come to the finale, right?
Yeah,
shoot
absolutely.
Sportsman there. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope listeners don't take this as lip service. Like I could feel that you're genuinely excited about it. I know the feeling because I am too. Like it's been a lot of fun. And I love shooting no matter what. I love going to matches. I love the camaraderie. Shooting open is fun. I feel like shooting open, there's this maybe a little different pressure to perform, right? Because it's not the rifle that's not performing. Like your rifle is dialed in, everything's perfect on that, right? And it's just on you. But it's different when you're shooting Sportsman. Like there's a lot more on the shooter to make sure all of this happens, right? And make sure you see it. Make sure you're making good calls based on a split second worth of information that you may or may not see because the target's bouncing around inside your field of view. But I've really loved it this year, and I hope people can hear that through this and know that it's genuine. Like, would I love to see the Sportsman Division grow like crazy? Absolutely. Is it going to take more than a year or two to be able to do this? Yeah, and I think more guys shooting it and talking about it, letting people have a couple of test shots with their rifle at the end of a match. Like you want to try something, you got to get a load of this. I fully believe that it's going to grow into a pretty good sized division, and excited to see companies like MPA develop rifle systems, right? Chassis, all of that specifically towards it to, push the boundaries.
You said something that, that really kind of caught my ear. We've both been shooting a long time, right? Mm-hmm. So you go to a 1-day or 2-day match, and there's always top level talent no matter where you're going to go, and it is fun. You're there with your friends, whether it's a 1-day or 2-day match or whatever the case may be. But if you have a bad stage, you drop 3 or 4 or 5 shots on a stage, it becomes less fun very quickly. Mm-hmm. You think, well, wow, I'm just, damn, I just blew it.
I'm out of it.
My chances of winning the match probably just went away on the third stage of the match.
Yeah.
You shoot in Sportsman Division. It's less crowded, which has its advantages, right? But you have a stage that may be not ideal, and the world's not coming to an end.
No.
Because you recognize that, it's probably something that I need to work on from a fundamental standpoint. It wasn't just, man, I really didn't pick up the wind or the mirage. Like, like that's 1 or 2 shots. You drop 5 shots or 6 shots on a stage. It's like, okay, what did I do wrong there? And you kind of learn from it. But it's not like you have this expectation. Like, so if you go to a 2-day match and you've been shooting for a while and you finish in 40th place, it's like, God, what happened to Phil? Man, like, he really had a crappy match. And if I finished 40th at a 2-day match shooting Sportsman, I'm like, oh yeah.
We did good.
And I dropped a lot of shots, and I had fun, and I enjoyed the heck out of it, and I didn't let a bad stage, like, ruin the match or get me down. It's just like, okay, well, let's go to the next one, and just let's do better. And I mean, the competitive, don't get me wrong, the competitive juices are still there, but it just you have to recognize that you can't have the same expectations.
Right.
You're not gonna drop 1 shot at a 1-day or 3 shots at a 2-day match with a Sportsman's rifle. That's just not gonna happen. It's impossible.
Well,
but it is fun though.
So I had a conversation last week with George Gardner, and one of the things that we talked about was, do you think somebody will ever win a 2-day Pro Series match shooting Sportsman Division? And I think there'll be some guys close. I think you might see a top 5 in the next year or two. It's got to be, I'll say this, it's going to be a really prone heavy match, right? So it could be an Oklahoma match or something like that, where there's a lot of laying down shooting, because there's definitely a disadvantage shooting off of barricades. But Could somebody win a match? I'd be interested to see like Keith Rudisill, right, or somebody like that. That's been shooting forever.
Yep.
Familiar with MPA and how it should all feel and all this, right? Like I'd be interested to see how well somebody like that does with it.
Yeah, it would, and I think that you're gonna see some guys who traditionally have been in contention for golden bullets that are gonna start shooting in Sportsman Division, and I think it'll be like, oh, let's just try it, and then they're gonna be like, wow, this is a lot of fun, and like that.
Yeah.
I didn't, why did I get into it? Because we're building a rifle for it. Why am I continuing to shoot it? Not because we built a rifle for it, because I love it.
Yeah,
that's why I'm continuing to do it. It's not like, oh, I just shot a couple of matches and we're good. No, this is what I want to do the rest of the year. I want to shoot Sportsman because it's just, again, love it, absolutely love it.
Yeah. I had a conversation with Jeff Geary about Sunday night because he had just won his third match. So his first one to 300, and I said, man, what are you gonna do now? And I had this conversation with Nick Godarzi last year, and he's like, I think I'm just gonna take a break. I'm not going to I'm probably going to let some other guys earn some points and, let some Northwest guys get in the finale. Well, he lied about that because he shot another match and he won the next one too. And I think he even capped everybody. But Jeff, when I talked to him Sunday night, he had mentioned, he's like, man, I might try a Sportsman rifle and see how well I do there, and that's pretty exciting to think, right? Somebody who gets to 300 really quick and maybe give something else a go, and try something at a 2-day match. And somebody who's really, really on top of their game right now, I would love to see them, try this and see how well they can do.
Yeah, because, so you look at Jeff. Jeff's been one of the best shooters in the sport here for several years now. But, we're in April, and he's already in the super squad for the finale.
Yeah, right.
So
he's shooting number one.
You got a lot of matches between now and then. And is it hard? It's hard to stay focused for that long.
Right.
And so, doing something like, trying something a little bit different, I think, I'd love for him to do it. It'd be really cool just to see how somebody, at Jeff's level, how he would do. But I think, and that will just get more people involved,
It will.
And I think it'll, when you announced the Sportsman Division, I was just kind of like, okay, well, we can build a rifle for it, but we'll see. But now I'm just like, man, I love it. It is just such, like all the good things we talked about. But so good for you for doing that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's not an easy decision either because as soon as you put something out, like there's people who disagree with it, right, or disagree with parts of it, and we still get these emails all the time, like, man, like I have that rifle, but it's chambered in 260. What's the difference? Why can't I do it? And it's like, okay. Yes, it is very, 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 very similar, but the point is to make it the same, Could we have gone 260 Remington? Sort of. It's just not as adopted as 6.5 Creedmoor, Could we have gone 6.5 47? Sure. It's not as adopted as 6.5 Creedmoor, and there's lots of 6.5 cartridges we could have gone with. We went with the most popular.
I think that's the right call because you're going to get people who are just getting into the sport and they don't want to hand load, right? And so there's a lot of really good factory match grade options that are out there.
Yeah.
7 or 8 really good ones that you can go, and half of those you can go to Dick's Sporting Goods or Shields or wherever and walk out with ammo for a match.
Right.
There's a lot of attractiveness to that.
Mm-hmm. And then get to compete, from 300 to 800 yards with that rifle or whatever it is, right? Whatever the match is. And get some pretty good dope and understanding of the caliber and how it operates, and then go hunting, with the same rifle. Like that's and that's the point of all this, right?
It'll be my hunting gun this year.
Yeah, likewise, yeah, for sure. Man, Phil, thank you again for coming on. This has been a good time. It's fun to share the passion of this whole thing with somebody, not just Sportsman Division, but PRS and all that we're doing. But this being particularly Sportsman, I'm super happy to see that you guys developed an entire rifle for this division. That's sort of it's part of the sport, right? Like we're going to put rules out there and drive the sport in different directions, and industry is going to create amazing products for it, and all of the shooters and hunters and everybody that's associated gets the benefit of that, right? Like, these new products and new developments. So thank you for doing that. It's exciting to me to see us be able to influence industry and what's happening. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, buddy. Thank you.